Everyone has an idea. You have one. Your neighbor has one. The guy who drove your Uber yesterday has one. Ideas are the most common thing in the world. And yet, most people treat having an idea like it's the hardest step. It's not. This week, I watched Koerner on the Diary of a CEO, and he exposed an uncomfortable truth. People spend months, sometimes years, waiting for the right idea to show up, refining it, planning it, building spreadsheets, talking to friends, asking for opinions. And at the end of the year, they look back and realize they did nothing, not because they lacked an idea, because they lacked action. Chris calls it becoming an action machine, and the next 5 lessons will show you exactly how he thinks. Lesson 1. Action beats ideas. Chris said something I agree with completely. The main reason people don't act is fear of what others will think. Not lack of resources, not lack of time, fear of judgment, and that fear paralyzes. Here's the math. Thinking doesn't reduce risk. Thinking just burns time. Action gives you answers. Ideas are mental entertainment. Action is the only thing that produces results.
What is the overt sort of underpinning mentality that's required for someone to be successful at starting businesses in the way that you've started them, starting these side hustles at volume and seeing success? Is there like a foundational mentality or personality or character trait required before we get into the tactics?
Yeah. I should say that the pain of your problem needs to be greater than how much you care about what people think about you. It needs to get to that point, because by far, that is the biggest roadblock to success, is people caring too much about what people think about them. And so they don't want to do the thing, or they don't want to talk about doing the thing because some random person from high school follows them on Facebook and might comment something, right? Which is really silly, but I've been there. I get it, right? If we can get over that, if we can just flip the switch in our brain that says people are thinking about me, people are caring about me, and just switch that to off, we'll win, right? Because the world is our oyster at that point.
Lesson 2. Copy what works. Chris didn't start by inventing anything. He copied what already worked, exactly as it was. No shame about it. And that's not laziness, it's strategy. When you copy something the market already validated, you cut your risk in half. The market did the testing for you. You just learn from the winners. Once it works, then you improve. But first, it works.
I had a phone repair business when I was in college, 2010. And I got a call one day from someone that said, "Hey, Chris, I want to buy all of your broken iPhone screens. Do you have any broken iPhone screens?" "Sure. We don't throw them away because we think it's bad for the environment. We just have a box of them. How much will you pay me?" $3 a piece. "Why? Why will you pay me $3? It's just broken glass." And they said, "Well, there's actually a way of remanufacturing these. We can send them to China. We can remove the broken glass, put new glass on them, and then we can resell them as a remanufactured unit." And that was just like a light bulb, right? So most people, I think at this point would say, yeah, where do I ship these, But I was like, I need to be in that business. I want to copy that guy who called me, right? Now, I don't know what his website was. I don't know what the name of his business was. There was no web archive at the time to look at. I just wanted to copy the business model because I thought, this is going to be a thing. I'm in the industry. I know the industry. I'm going to do this as well. So we did 2 million the first year, then 5, and then 9. And then we exited a few years after that.
It's interesting. But, you often don't think that everyone's in search of a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to find new ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I think, was it Einstein that said there's no such thing as a new idea?
Sounds right.
But you have an orientation just to look at existing models and to replicate them. Do you put a spin on it at all?
I'll develop my own spins over time, right? Because we're all a product of our environment. And so in the case of this business, I started copying exactly, right? I went and found people in China. I just went to Alibaba. I messaged a ton of people that sold iPhone screens, and I said, "Do you recycle? Do you recycle? Do you recycle?" And like 5 or 10% of them said yes. So then I shipped them samples, and then they shipped me some back. And then over time, I started like taking some marketing principles from previous businesses like Facebook ads, cold calling, and I started applying them just because I didn't know how this other competitor was finding success. I knew he was cold calling and that was working. That's all I knew. Remember, I didn't even know the name of his business. And so over time, you start using your previous experiences to apply these tweaks to the business and to make it your own. But if you do that right at the outset, right? Like if I got a call and he said, I want to buy your broken iPhone screens. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that, but I don't want to just sell iPhone screens. That's lame. I'm going to do Samsung, right? Pretty good chance there's not even a market for that, or there's not even a method for that. And because of my ego, my pride, my unwillingness to just copy what's already working, I wouldn't have that successful business in my back pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do twists in the beginning, it's kind of like I'm kind of thinking of an analogy. Like if you're on a long road trip and you start taking detours early on, or if a flight is on a flight path and he starts like getting off track just a little bit at the beginning, he's going to end up hundreds of miles away from his destination. But if he starts making tweaks along the way, then he'll be much closer to where he would have been anyway. They also probably don't know like how much the law of abundance is a real thing, right? People think business is a zero-sum game.
What does that mean?
Well, they think that things are oversaturated. They'll have an idea for a product or a service, and then they'll get really excited, and then they'll go Google it, and then they'll see it exists, and they'll move on. And when I do that and I see it exist, I'm like, yes, this is it. Someone went to the front lines of the battlefield and validated this for me. And then I'll go to the web archive, I'll go to Whois, and I'll go look at what their website has looked like over the last decade, see where they started. Maybe their product was $99. Now it's like $49 every 2 months. Interesting. Okay. I'll look at the copy of their headline. I'll look at like how many tabs they have on their website. Do they post their Instagram feed on? I'll look at all these things and see how it's evolved over time and think, awesome. I'm going to start where he's at today. Like this guy already proved it out for me. He took all the risk. This is amazing. This exists. I don't need to like do it better. I don't need to do it differently. I just need to do the same thing. And the market is big enough. The world is big enough to where I can win as well.
Lesson 3, validate fast. Chris doesn't look for compliments. He looks for reactions. If someone's eyes light up, if they lean in, if they ask, how do I buy this? That's validation. If they just nod and say, cool, that's not interest, that's politeness. And when demand starts pulling you, when the idea chases you instead of you chasing it, that's when you know it's real. Fast validation saves years of guessing.
You used the word validating earlier on when you're talking about these ideas. And I think this is something that could really, really help a lot of people who have a lot of ideas, is this idea of trying to validate your idea as fast as possible. How might one validate an idea? And can you give me an example of an idea that you have validated? What does validation mean?
Yeah, so I like to see people get joy from my product or service, right? Not just like, oh, it's good. Like, let's say I'm selling a food product. It tastes good. It's good. Okay, people might buy this, but I'm not going to have product market fit. I'm going to be pushing a boulder up the hill, right? But if people are like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever had. Where did you make this? How did you make this? It lights up in their face. That's an example of a validation in my case, right? Same industry, food product, completely different reactions, right? So one specific example is my wife has a cookie bar business, right? Square cookies. And they're amazing. And we're not trying to scale it. We don't want to scale it. It's a way to teach our kids entrepreneurship, and we love it. But the best way to validate this was going to our local farmers market and just posting up and just giving people samples and just watching them, right? What do they say versus how do they react? And is it the same?
What do you mean by that?
Well, sometimes we try to use the internet in places where it's not needful, right? She sold these online, right? She shipped them to friends and family across the country. Like, they're great. We love them. Okay, I didn't see you eat it. I don't know how you actually love it. Are you saying that because you're my mom, right? Or you're my friend? But when you solicit feedback on your product or service in person, even if it's like an internet tool or an app, in person makes all the difference. You want to take note of what they say and take note of their body language and how they react. when they experience your product or service, right? And if all three of those things overlap, then either they're a psychopath and they're just lying for no good reason, or you have something really special on your hands. And so that's what we did with her cookie bar business. And they loved it. And you can do that with any business. It doesn't have to be food.
What does validation mean? It's checking if the market gives a fuck about the thing you're making as fast as you can.
Yeah. I like to kind of picture a boulder up a hill, right? And most people in their businesses, even businesses that are working, there are 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's okay. Like, that's not a bad thing. But in my experience, 5% of the time, I'll have a business where the boulder is chasing me. Like, I'm trying to not die because this boulder is chasing me down a hill. And that boulder in this case represents customers, demand, right? Like, I can't sleep because I'm fulfilling orders. I'm answering emails like, I'm not getting distracted by the next shiny object. That is validation. That's product market fit in my experience. You don't have to have that to launch. I don't want people to misunderstand. But if you have that, like, you have something very special and you need to go all in on that thing.
Lesson 4. Ideas come from seeing the world differently. Chris doesn't sit around waiting for inspiration to fall from the sky. He observes. He walks into a store and sees patterns, behavior, gaps. Most people walk in, buy a coffee, and leave. He walks in and sees a business model. On the podcast, he said it clearly. Opportunities aren't rare. Awareness is.
Is there something in your mentality or perspective, though, where you walk into a Buc-ee's and you even think about how you could do something, whereas most people walk into a Buc-ee's and buy their stuff and leave? Like, is there something foundational in the way that you're looking at the world?
Yeah, but I don't think I'm any different. I think a lot of people have ideas like that. Like, you walk into a Buc-ee's and you see something about something that could be improved, and people have these passing thoughts and they move on. I think that you become an expert at doing something about those ideas when you do something about those ideas. You get better at what you do, at what you test.
Because you've built up some kind of muscle, which means that you don't really care about, it seems, failure as much as the average person.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in that particular case, the average person might think, well, I've got no experience in doing that.
Mm-hmm. No one has any experience in anything until they do it, right? Like, every expert started out as a beginner, right? Sometimes, though, people try this and they learn, it doesn't give them energy. It's not for them. That's okay. Now when they have ideas, they can know, all right, box checked. That's not really for me. That entrepreneurship thing, someone else needs to do that. And great, good. All the power to them. I just want people to answer that question for themselves. I hate seeing regret in people's faces. Like, I have friends that want to start a business. They've always talked about it, and I know they would be good at it. And I know it just eats them up, and they have really, really good ideas, objectively. And I just hate seeing them have that question for the rest of their lives. I just want them to taste entrepreneurship.
Lesson 5. Today's tools killed every excuse. Chris laughed when someone said, I don't know where to start. You can build a website in minutes, test demand with cheap ads, run research instantly, ship a product from your laptop. The tools are here. The friction is gone. The only thing still slowing you down is hesitation.
And in terms of where we sit at this moment of time, with technology, with AI, with fast internet, with mobile phones, do you think this is the best time for people to start something, to start a side hustle or to try?
Every day that goes by, the timing gets better for people, right? Things are getting more competitive, but there are more tools than ever. 10 years ago, if I wanted to start a business, and this is what the internet's in full swing, social media's in full swing, I probably had to spend a lot of money or move to San Francisco or raise venture capital. That's like, I would love for you to try to convince me. Try to give me an idea where you have to raise money, or where you have to go all in, or where you have to quit your job. It doesn't exist. With all these AI tools, software tools, you can make a website with one prompt. You can make an app with one prompt. You could post to Facebook Marketplace and have hundreds of inquiries within an hour. You could post Facebook ads. You could go to Craigslist. Like, you could put a sign up in front of your house. You could go launch a survey to people. Like, there are so many tools for testing and validating and experimenting with these concepts that it is more accessible than ever.
All right, let's talk about the alternate universe Chris apparently lives in. At some point, the guy found himself working with John McAfee, the cybersecurity legend who turned into a walking action movie. Suddenly, Chris is in the middle of a crypto project, surrounded by bodyguards, weapons, paranoia, and enough plot twists for a full TV season. And he stayed calm. Because of course he did. But that's just the warm-up. This is the same guy who built a business out of broken iPhone screens. Everyone throws them away. Chris turned them into revenue. The man looked at electronic trash and said, profit. And then comes the Bucky story. He walks into the biggest themed convenience store in America, spends $3,000 on merchandise, and walks out with an informal deal to sell everything online, building the e-commerce presence they never bothered to create. It's a pattern. While normal people see chaos or someone else's problem, Chris sees opportunity. And he acts before anyone else even noticed there was a window open. You don't need Chris's background, or his luck, or his timing. You just need his willingness to act before everything is perfect. Action beats ideas. Copying reduces risk. Fast validation gives clarity. Observation feeds creativity. And today's tools eliminate every excuse. If you want to become an action machine, start with the simplest thing: subscribe. Every week, we help you think, work, and execute better, one mentor at a time. Now answer me, which of these lessons are you going to act on today? Check the description for the original video of the full interview.